Welcome everybody to another episode of Tubby Talk. I am Terry Leahy from Terry Leahy Films, and along with me is the two owners of Tubby Robot themselves,
Chris McGuire,
Steve Wright Jr.
Welcome to the show. We were just talking about all sorts of strange games that are out there in the ether and strange licenses that have gone out too. And there is no group of people who have given us more strange joy than those in the music recording industry trying to make video games. So this episode's going to be just about that kind of stuff. What kind of games, you ask? Oh, I don't know. Help us out, gentlemen.
Well, I think we got to start with the first one ever made in the arcade. There are actually two of them. The band Journey, the rock band back in the 70s, they have two arcade games. One was about getting away from promoters, and another one was about collecting the instruments for each band member to put the band back together so that they could play. And Steve was just reading up on this. You're saying, like, at the end, if you got all of the bands, got all their musical instruments together, a cassette would play inside.
Inside of the actual cabinet would play through speakers, and you were then portraying the roadie.
Yes.
For the newly rejoined Journey. And they did one of their more popular songs, which the name escapes you right now, but it's called...
Yeah. But basically, like, back then, games could not replicate either the graphics or the sound required for this sort of thing.
So they just played the cassette.
They just played the cassette tape in the arcade cabinet. So awesome.
But you know what? They tried. They sure as hell tried to get some of that music into the cartridges, and it didn't go so well, as we found out in Michael Jackson's Moonwalker.
Yes.
Yeah, this is a game we've actually played on Wallavision here at Tubby Robot, and it was a big hit. But the game was, Michael Jackson's Moonwalker was made by Sega, and Michael Jackson was the biggest thing going at the time. The Genesis was the biggest thing going at the time.
So just like peanut butter and chocolate, marry the two together.
Yeah, and it was a brawler, really, more than anything. Like, it was isometric point of view. You're walking through the streets trying to save children from Mr. Big. Mr. Big.
That right.
Yeah.
Michael Jackson trying to save children from Mr. Big.
Yep. And so little children would be running around like really stereotypical looking children, like a girl with ponytails.
With pigtails and like a jumper on.
Just running around like holding a doll. And Michael Jackson would go touch them while they were tied up. And then they'd say, Michael! And then they'd run away.
Hey, Michael!
Yeah.
You know what I loved about that is, so it's not that bad a game. It's like a typical, I don't want to say Final Fight because it's isometric, but it is, you walk diagonally, you punch, you do dance moves, you have a special button that causes you to spin around and just go, ah!
And it plays clips from the song, so each stage was themed with a different Michael Jackson song. So it would play a clip of that song, all the enemies would dance in time.
And then blow up.
With Michael Jackson, and then blow up.
They'd be like, dance, dance, die.
Including robots.
Yeah,
there were many robots in the game that you fought.
Speaking of robots, every once in a while you will run into your monkey friend.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, Bubbles and Chimp.
Yeah, he's running bubbles, and you run into bubbles, and he morphs into the giant mech version of Michael from Captain EO.
Yeah, and you get to hang out as Captain EO for the rest of the
level.
The rest of the level, like you get charged up and
shoot lasers.
Does it go to everybody, or is it whoever finds bubbles?
Whoever finds bubbles. So there'll be 2 bubbles sometimes when you're playing 2 players, and you can each become bubbles.
And you get like these giant arm cannon things.
Yeah, it's one of the best pieces of animation in any video game ever. You look up the animation cycle of Michael Jackson morphing after touching Bubbles the Chimp, it's hilarious.
It's even better than Ultra Beast when you turn into the various beasts.
Yeah.
And that was the pinnacle of video game morphing technology at that time.
We kept laughing when we headed onto the shop here because before you start every stage, they give this little breakdown with the map, and right before they show Michael Jackson's face, pixelated, and he just goes, woo! Yeah. Woo! And then you start right away. Oh, it's great.
Was that his first foray into video games, or was Sonic before that?
I'm not sure if Sonic 3's soundtrack was predated it. I'm pretty sure Moonwalker was first, because it was like late 80s, early 90s.
Also, not only on the consoles.
Yeah, it was arcade first.
Yeah, it came out in arcade first.
Arcade first.
And it was 3 players in the arcade.
Yeah.
You had a red Michael, a white Michael, and a blue Michael.
Yes.
Like, they're all wearing the Smooth Criminal suits.
Yeah. And they played the Smooth Criminals. I mean, really, the music was actually pretty great.
Down.
And just making people dance to kill them. And the thing was, like, Michael Jackson, he was like, I don't want to be violent. So he shot, like, rainbow lasers.
Yeah.
It was like electricity sometimes. Like, it was a very strange game, but very entertaining. There was a very phallic robot who was like his body was a giant pulsing phallus, basically, that would punch you in the head.
Yeah,
it was not
a mech with 2 legs and just a long cylindrical body.
It was a bit obvious who had creative control over the game.
Oh man,
I'm just glad there wasn't a Neverland Ranch like level.
Oh god,
Escape from Neverland Ranch.
By the way, was Mr. Big the same Mr. Big from Wayne's World?
That's a good question.
No, but I think he was the same Mr. Big from the Captain EO. I'm not sure. I've never seen Captain EO.
Neither have I. I don't even know.
No, Captain EO.
It's a film at Disney World.
Yeah.
An interactive ride. I didn't go while it was there, so I've never seen the. But I know the robot.
It was actually a woman. She was, I forget her title, but she was like the Queen of Blades, basically, of that universe.
Oh, okay.
And Michael Jackson singing and dancing turned her into a beautiful lady, and they all lived happily ever after. Thanks, George Lucas.
No.
Yeah, George Lucas directed Captain EO.
My man.
It's really bad, but kind of good.
I know there's something I saw on a bootleg tape as a kid where Michael Jackson turned into a car. And maybe that was a separate Moonwalker movie,
I remember
short film.
something
But there's
like
something where he morphs into a car and starts driving around like a Hollywood lot.
Yeah, but doesn't that movie? Oh, I know what you're talking about. Spielberg was in it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Spielberg was in it. Dan Aykroyd was in it.
Oh god, I need to check this down.
At the end, it reveals the whole music video is being done on a set, and at the end, it reveals that Michael was the director all along. And there's this great shot of Steven Spielberg just
oh, you.
Really funny.
Basically, in the early 90s, late 80s, they let Michael Jackson do whatever he wanted.
He had primetime specials, multiple. I remember clearly he premiered the video for Black or White starring Macaulay Culkin during a Simpsons episode, I believe.
Yeah, no, I remember that
Simpsons
clearly.
episode he was in?
No,
it was a little bit after that.
Different, yeah.
He was also in the Simpsons episode.
But that was like an event.
But he didn't sing for it. This has become the Michael Jackson show.
Every family just got together and watched that. It was a television event that was a shared thing that doesn't happen anymore because the monoculture is dead. Everybody watches something different, and all of our kids they will not see the same shows. I was talking about this with my wife a lot. We grow up now. We're like, oh, remember all this stuff? Kids aren't going to do that because they're not going to have the same experiences. Oh, my family did Hulu. My family did Netflix.
That's
my
true.
family did YouTube. My family didn't even have a television. It's crazy.
Well,
yeah. But then, speaking of the monoculture, going back to the arcade, one of my favorites was Revolution X.
Yeah, I
The
knew
Aerosmith game. Aerosmith basically has a very similar plot. Not about saving children, though, but an evil corporation.
About saving the world.
Yes, an evil
from the man.
Yep, the man is trying to take music away because it's about artistic expression, and Aerosmith, can't abide. They need artistic expression to flow freely. So Steven Tyler and crew, you get a gun. It's a gun game.
Yeah.
And you shoot CDs.
Yeah,
and so, as you're shooting at the gun, in the screen, CDs are flying out of your gun into the virtual screen, and you're blowing things up, and oh god, what was the subtitle in that? It was Fight for the Future, something absurd. It was
Generation X or
It was Oh, and if you go in, it's got some really great digitized graphics of that band. It's horrible.
Yeah. The thing about it though is every arcade had this game. Why was it everywhere? And you would walk into the arcade and you would see it's oh, I bet they got a cool new gun game. And yep, there's a gun game. Damn it! Aerosmith got us again.
And it was right after Terminator 2 came out, and they had that great game, Terminator 2 gun
That's probably
game.
why. Probably used the same cabinet.
Yeah,
and they just swap the disc.
They're but now Steven Tyler can be with you as you go through and shoot people.
Which is the only general I would want in a war for the future. Steven Tyler.
Although if you want to, sorry.
Yeah.
Although if you want to talk about fights for the future, there's somebody who I would trust to lead me more than Steven Tyler, more than Michael Jackson, and even more than, we haven't talked about it yet, Jack Black.
Ah!
But it's a game called Omicron, Nomad Soul. It came out for the Sega Dreamcast.
Oh, I don't know that one.
Yeah, so it's starring twice, David Bowie.
David Bowie?
The thin white duke himself. So apparently it was like this dystopian future where he was also the leader of the resistance or something like that.
Of course.
He also had a band.
Yeah.
Where he performed multiple songs written by David Bowie and were actually released on his 1999 album Hours. But they debuted in this game. for Dreamcast.
Oh, so this is the world of David Bowie music.
Yes.
No way.
And it's, oh god, so it's like early, if you've ever played MDK2 or any other like early Dreamcast game that was like a, like not open world, but like open stage style game, like first person shooter, it looked really rough. The texture quality was high, so it wasn't like super fuzzy, but polygon count was super low. So everybody just had like a big cube head or a big sphere, like hexagon head. Wasn't even round. And it was crazy. But David Bowie,
like GoldenEye level?
Yeah, like GoldenEye level, but like with less fuzzy textures. But David Bowie's face was like immaculately rendered, and I think it took up half the space on the disc.
It's just David Bowie.
It looked exactly like David Bowie if he was blue.
It's funny because this system is the one that I remember the most these kinds of games on. I specifically remember in a store seeing Kiss Psycho Circus and having zero concept of what that could possibly be. Did they have guns?
Oh yeah, it was a first-person shooter set in the universe of Kiss.
Which is new because that definitely didn't exist before.
Yeah, it was a very much Todd McFarlane kind of style thing.
Oh, okay.
It was in that era of like Spawn is cool, so let's have all this like hellish sort of looking angular
Gene Simmons
stuff.
was Spawn, basically.
He was the demon.
Yeah, I mean, yes, Spawn looks just like Kiss now that you mention it. So they were all like, hey, why not just steal that aesthetic?
Yeah.
And yeah, it was basically a stock 90s first-person shooter. Like, you know, you had axes, you shot rockets, you shot guns.
You know what it was like? It was like, you remember when House of Dead and those games came out? Like, there were a lot of those type of games. Do you remember one that like took place in a bunch of horror elements, and one was a circus?
Carnival.
Carnival. That's what it reminded me of. It reminded me of Carnival.
That's one where like the clown popped off the top of like the circus tent. You had to shoot the big clown in the head. Yeah.
Carnival was a terrible game, for the record.
It looks pretty good.
Not as good as House of the Dead.
It was that same engine as like Police Trainer and the one they put Area 51.
The original.
Yeah, Area 51, which was everywhere that game, and I was like, we were House of the Dead fans, so we were like used to good games. And so like when that came out, we were just like,
He had this crappy little gun.
this tiny little, it's like a real gun.
Yeah, but you might get to like pump a shotgun in Carnival.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
I remember playing that in like a Disney Quest or something, so you could just keep going.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's impossible. Like, the game is designed to make it. Anyway, long story short, it reminded me of that Kiss game.
Kiss Psycho Circus, I'd love to go back and play actually, because that was a time when like that is the start of like the brown muddy texture kind of thing that came in the late '90s and continues to this day, arguably.
So we have two ways to go from that. Divergence point actually. Do you want to go towards the brown muddy game, or do you want to go towards another music game on the Dreamcast?
Oh, music game on the Dreamcast.
For sure.
So Chris knows what I'm talking about.
Which one? We going Space Channel? Yeah, Space Channel.
Also
5.
Starring Michael Jackson.
Yeah, another Michael Jackson game.
What? I didn't even know there was one.
Yeah,
Tell me everything.
Space Channel 5 was a first-party Sega game. It was basically a rhythm game. It was a lot like Parappa the Rapper. You played this alien named. She's an alien reporter.
Ooh la la.
Ooh la la. Yeah. And so she would dance, and you would basically dance with aliens. And I don't even know. You were kind of solving problems abstractly.
Yeah, she was like a reporter who was actually getting, like, not being a very good journalist, but getting in and solving these problems that need to be solved, or like on a space station.
Wearing a miniskirt.
Good.
So she had like purple pigtails and a miniskirt, wearing an orange dress. And at one stage, you find Space Michael. He's referred to literally as Space Michael, and it's Michael Jackson in muddy Dreamcast texture, wearing a silver suit, and he will dance with you, and it's pretty great.
Does
actually.
he speak?
Yeah, he
He
speaks.
speaks.
Yeah. He speaks and dances. I think they might have even mocap danced him.
Almost certainly they did.
Yeah. So like Michael Jackson at some point wore a suit covered with balls so that he could do this game. Yep.
Phrasing.
Welcome back to Gaming with Michael.
Yeah, and it was a good game. I think a lot of people were actually pretty into that game.
The character ended up being so popular, relatively speaking anyway, that when Sega put out their Sonic and Sega All-Stars Racing, like Mario Kart clone, Ulala was one of the races.
Really?
Yeah, but no Space Michael, sadly.
Yeah.
Wait, did Ulala make her way into Toe Jam and Earl?
She was way after that. Unless
No, there was a
new
Toe
one.
Jam and Earl 3 that came out that had a female character.
She might be in it because that's Sega too. So maybe they
I think it's her.
It's
put her in
probably
there.
her.
I hope it's her.
And then speaking with, I know that they re-released Space Channel 5 on Xbox 360, and they didn't have the rights to Space Michael. So I don't remember what they had to do to work around that, but they didn't have Space Michael's rights anymore.
Cut it out or something.
Yeah, they replaced him probably with Space Mr. Dream.
Space Mr.
Space Mr. Dream. That's fantastic.
Punch out joke.
Speaking of punching, my favorite music licensed games were the Def Jam games that came out on GameCube and PS2.
Def Jam Vendetta, Def Jam Fight for New York.
And so much fun. With a story mode. There was a real story mode.
Like, those games were way better than they had any right to be, right?
Absolutely.
Like, they were actually fun games.
Especially Vendetta, the first one.
Yeah.
I remember playing on GameCube constantly, and I'm just, you pick your favorite rapper, so you had like Method Man, Redman, anybody signed to Def Jam at the time. Yeah, they were a tag team. You had, was DMX one of them? I keep forgetting.
Definitely, because I specifically remember, you think you can mess with the dog? That's how he started every fight. And if he won, he was out. Like there were taunts.
Yeah, there were taunts.
There had to be taunts. Yeah.
There would be like victory poses. So it was basically built on like a wrestling game.
It was like a WCW.
Yeah, like
game.
WCW style like wrestling game engine.
Who was the bad guy? Do you remember?
I think it was somebody they made up for the game for the first one.
And
Or was it? Maybe it wasn't. I know E40 was in it.
I know the sequel was called Fight for New
Or
York.
Scarface, one of them. Fight for New York had people from outside of Def Jam
Yeah,
records
Snoop
in it.
Dogg
Snoop
was the
Dogg
bad
was
guy
in that
in that
one. Yeah.
Oh, he was the bad guy.
Whoever the bad
Yeah, it was like
guy
an East
in the
Coast versus
first-
West Coast thing.
So did he actually fight in it?
Wait, was it Suge Knight?
It was somebody who looked like Suge
Was it
Knight.
someone who was supposed to
Suge Knight,
be?
yeah.
I think it was somebody who was supposed to be, but his lead enforcer was Fat Joe. And
Yeah.
it always made me laugh so hard. And Fat Joe, if you like just hit the select button, he would just start going, ha ha ha. Like that was his taunt. He was just laughing. And you couldn't punch Fat Joe in the stomach.
Yeah.
He would
Because
shake
he was
it
too
off.
fat.
I can't imagine.
Because he could just do the rock away and lean back.
I just can't imagine like Snoop Dogg being a fighting character because he's so
Yeah.
lanky and leaned over. Like,
I mean,
Wu-Tang Clan makes sense, but
yeah. Let's say, could you imagine Redman being a fighting game character? He was the best fighting game character.
he could flip around.
Before that game, I would have never thought he would be my favorite like wrestling game character. But he had all these wacky moves and taunts. His finishing move was he would just push you over and stomp on your head with his Timbs repeatedly until you passed out.
I might be wrong about this, but I'm pretty sure in an episode of MTV Cribs, you can see the game sitting on like Method Man's table.
Redman's table.
Yeah, on Redman's
Yeah,
table. I'm pretty sure he holds it up. It's like, this is what we do.
He has the best episode of Cribs ever, right? Like that was his like, here's my stupid apartment.
Yeah, he's my stupid little house in Newark. It's just check it out.
Yeah. But yeah, and speaking of Wu-Tang, like they had another game called Wu-Tang Shaolin Style, which was a fighting game. Not quite like the wrestling games though. I think it was more of like a Street Fighter-esque sort of 3D fighting game.
Okay.
And that had I think you could do 4 players actually.
Oh wow.
But yeah, Wu-Tang had its own whole game, at least one.
You know who else is a musician that had their own fighting game? Shaquille O'Neal.
That's right.
Yeah.
Also known as Shaq-Fu.
Actually, it wasn't a fighting game though, was it?
Yeah, it was a fighting game.
Yeah, it was.
Okay.
But I think it had a side scroller.
Yeah, I thought it was side-scrolling.
No, they were the size of side-scrolling characters, but it was a 101 fighting game.
I'm pretty sure there were some levels, or maybe at least weird cutscenes. But
I
by the
think-
way, recently remade. Did you see the new
Oh, no, I
Shaq-Fu?
didn't see that.
You need to see and I guarantee you Shaq did the voice on it.
Oh, God,
because
that's awesome.
like, yeah, it's remastered, and the last thing it says is somebody about to get their ass whipped. And it's Shaq like going like this in 3D. It's awesome.
God. And-
Somebody about to get their ass
You
whipped.
just said that way more charismatic than I can imagine Shaq saying something
It's
too.
the exact same way. It's awesome.
All right, and if you don't know, maybe you're a little bit too young and you only know him as the commentator on NBA on TNT, or what, I don't even know what channel he's on. But
He's TNT.
Okay, but he's a rapper.
Shaq.
Look it up.
Yeah, Shaq has there's a great music video with Shaq rapping on a stage in a city. He looks so awkward.
He's like
He
standing on
was
a concrete
in
block.
2 videos because he was also in a music video with Aaron Carter.
Yes, and to this day, he's never forgiven Aaron Carter for destroying him on the mic.
Wait, what is the Shaq song? Hey Shaq, where you at? I'm over here.
Shaq rapping. Yeah.
Shaq, where you at?
They let Shaq do whatever he wanted for a little while too, didn't they?
Yeah.
Because he had that. He
But
had
but above everybody, there is one truly insane video game that came out of the rap community, and that is 50 Cent.
Blood on the
As
sand.
one of the coolest games ever. Watch a playthrough, do whatever you can to experience this game. What is it called?
50 Cent Blood on the Sand.
Yeah.
So you said you watched a playthrough recently. Did you see the beginning where they explain why he's putting all the blood in the sand?
I did, but I feel like you should tell our viewers at home.
Well, I haven't seen it recently, but from what I recall, and Terry can correct me if I'm wrong,
Yeah.
he was performing in like Dubai or something, some like Middle Eastern country. It might have even been a fake one.
Mm-hmm.
And he was performing for like a sultan, and he was going to pay him with a crystal skull.
Yeah.
And then someone steals his crystal skull. So he gets his buddies together, and he pulls out his gat, and he decides to fight through the desert to get his shit back.
I believe the last line before the game starts is "Nobody steal from Fitty." Cut to gameplay.
It's amazing. When that came out,
This is like a Max Payne style
Yeah,
game.
it's like a cover shooter, right? A third-person cover shooter. I
with
believe.
2 guns, rocket launchers. You could be any member of the G Unit.
all your favorites.
Yeah.
But the crazy thing was, like the climate that came out, that was in the middle of Iraq War II.
Yeah.
So it was kind of like, so this is also like patriotism. Like, I'm going to show you.
Yeah.
I'm going to show you what we can do.
So much blood.
Steal our crystal skulls back, will you?
Yeah. Saddam's got our crystal skulls. Not going to let it go down.
I love it because essentially it is get rich or die trying, like the game.
There is a Richard Die Trying game.
What?
I believe that's what it's called. 50 Cent has 2 games.
Yeah.
Eminem's in one of them.
He must be in the other one that's not Blood in the Sand.
I can't believe there's not like an Eminem game, like straight up, like at the height of his
There
popularity.
should be an Eminem game based on 8 Mile where the goal is to eat his mom's spaghetti. But his arms are heavy. So you got to get him some energy drinks to get his and go through some like rap battles to get his energy up so he can stomach his mom's spaghetti.
Rap has been good for gaming. Rap has
There's
created games that people want to play.
There's definitely lots of gaming references in rap,
Yeah.
including one of my favorites that I told Chris about, and quickly became one of his favorites. Super Brooklyn
Oh yeah.
by the Cocoa Brothers. So it's good.
Yeah, it's one of the first that I can remember, like video game real band like crossovers, because the Super Brothers they'd sampled the Mario theme, and
Like-
it was great. It was called Super Brooklyn. It's very simple now, but
Yeah, but it was just the Super Mario theme, and they added lots of sound effects, like for Mario, like true to game,
Yeah.
in the background and like in like the rhyme scheme, just to be kind of. It was really awesome. And then there was also surprised that he might have been in Def Jam too, but Beanie Siegel had a song where he equated Pac-Man and other classic 80s arcade games to the drug trade.
Oh God.
And he's like, so he has like Donkey Kong is like his rival pusher across the city, and he has Mario and Luigi who are his hitmen. He sends out to
my
take,
God.
and King Koopa's like his other rival, so he sends Mario and Luigi to take out King Koopa. And he's Cubert's on his side. He's got Frogger working for him. It's ridiculous.
what we learned is that like a large chunk of rappers are nerds.
Yes.
Like there are so many video game references if you're looking for them. Like, and as young nerds, like it was pretty cool to like find. I know what that's from.
Super Nintendo, Sega Genesis. Yeah, there you go. That's
Yeah, Biggie was rapping about that back before it was cool to rap about it.
right.
And
I mean,
then he died.
even
so,
like House
put
of
2 and 2
Pain.
together.
House of Pain was like when they referenced Sega in that, it was like, oh my god, they said the thing
Like
I
my name
played.
is Sega.
Yeah, it was cool.
But
Play me out like my name is Sega. Actually, is we were talking about that. Nobody's saying that.
Def Jam might be the most successful video game
It
based
definitely,
on music.
it
But
definitely
there are
spawned a
some
sequel.
true duds that came out that you might not know about. For example, kids, did you know about Peter Gabriel? Because we just found out that he had a video game.
Yeah, it's called like Peter Gabriel Experience, was it?
It's called Xperia 1.
Oh, Xperia, yeah, about Peter Gabriel. You go inside the twisted mind of Peter Gabriel.
Sledgehammer. Why wouldn't it be him running with a sledgehammer instead?
That would have been much better.
Yeah.
Oh, actually, that brings me to Twisted Minds. Makes me think of Brutal Legend.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
here we
which
go.
was an unsuccessful game, but by a very creative game creator. Unfortunately, it didn't do very well, but
It was a Tim Schafer game.
yeah.
By Double Fine, who are famous for games such as
Psychonauts.
and I mean, this goes back to the old LucasArts games, things like Monkey Island,
Grim Fandango,
Grim Fandango.
Yeah.
which have been released on PS4 recently.
Yeah. But yeah, I played Brutal Legend, got really excited about it. It came out on the 360. I think it was on PS3 too. But it started. People got very excited. It was basically based in the world of metal.
Yeah.
Everything was metal. The whole story was that a roadie named Eddie Riggs was killed by a piece of falling stage, and then he was sent to the world of metal.
Yep.
And he
got giant arms.
Yeah, he was already giant, actually. I think he didn't change. He's just huge. His character design is just, he's huge. And he's voiced by Jack Black, who does an awesome job. Like, he does a really great voice acting. But
Kung Fu Panda himself, kids.
Yes. But basically, Ozzy Osbourne's in it, playing like the Lord of Metal, and the Lemmy Kilmister is in it.
I think Dio's in it too.
Yeah, Dio's in it. And the soundtrack is all classic, like hard rocking songs.
Yeah.
And you basically drive around this rock landscape in this hot rod that looks like it came right out of like a t-shirt.
And he had like an axe that was basically a skull with 2 blades sticking out of it.
And the girl was like what you would see on the cover of every metal album.
Yeah,
just like this.
like the early 80s.
Honey.
It was a great game. So there were 2 components to it though. The one was like the hack and slash kind of action adventure, explore open world thing, and then boss battles were a real-time strategy. Like you had to build a stage up and monitor like your army, and it was a strange change of pace that a lot of people were not into. So when they bought the game, they felt duped because they were like, "Oh, I'm ready for this hack and slash fun thing," and then they had to play.
Then it's resource management.
Yeah, resource management, which was an interesting game. Kind of tough to control because it was a third-person console real-time strategy. Like, who does that?
Whenever you started up the car, did Holy Diver start playing?
I think it was something like that.
Yeah, as soon as you get to dun, 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 dun. Let me get out, let me get back in. Dun, 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 dun. Let me get out, get back in. Like,
it was great.
Awesome.
Oh, and all the bosses looked awesome. Like, all the design of the enemies, it was perfect. It was really good.
they marketed the hell out of that game. Jack Black went on Conan in the Eddie Riggs outfit, I remember, and killed a demon that was sitting in the audience. So let me stop you right there, Conan. You see this guy? I gotta kill him, and it literally is a demon sitting there. It's pretty
I think that might be one of the early precursors to Conan's game. I forget what it's called, but I think he does.
Clueless Gamer.
Yeah, Clueless Gamer. Because I'm pretty sure he played the game on screen with Jack Black during the episode.
But I mean, that might. I wonder if the game didn't sell well, or if they just spent all the money in advance.
Well,
Like, you're not getting Ozzy on a game for free.
No.
It's very critically panned by the gaming press because
It was like lukewarm.
Yeah, because they were like, it's great as either one of these games, but we don't want it to be a combination of the two, and especially not for a boss battle.
Yeah.
Where then you go back and
Like
hack and slash.
That might be worth a replay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's the kind of game I'd love to revisit because see how it feels now.
And if it was like a $20 indie game, I'm sure people would have been more receptive of it. But being a full price $60 retail game,
AAA!
yeah, they were like, I don't like it.
But it had that attitude of like that design of metal, like over the top metal, like you know, Jack Black style, Tenacious D metal. You know that you don't really see in
Classic
games a
80s
lot.
metal.
Was Dave
Yeah.
Grohl in it?
I don't know. I don't remember.
Was he
might have
voice?
been.
Did he voice someone? He probably did.
Possibly. He's in everything else he touches. But it was fun. I mean, and it's at very least like it's worth watching some clips from it.
Yeah.
Like the cutscenes are really funny. It's actually a funny game.
Yeah, the
You
art
laugh.
style is awesome too, and
Yeah.
I think everybody in it is. Ozzy's not dead yet, but Libby's dead. Dio's dead.
Oh man.
Jack is not.
Jack's alive and well.
The musicians in it are mostly dead.
Speaking of which, do you guys know if were any major music people involved in like that rhythm game explosion we had? I'm thinking of games like Rez and those kinds of things. Like, did they have actual bands involved in those?
They often had electronic music people in it who were, not mainstream that you necessarily didn't hear of. But they had a lot in there, and the music. I mean, that leads right into Guitar Hero and Rock Band, which were very much tied to the music.
And one of your
Oh yeah.
giant impacts on your life.
Yeah, I mean, Steve and I to this day still play Rock Band.
We played it New Year's Day, and it was amazing.
Yeah.
It's true, I saw a picture.
I was trying to tally up all the band-specific versions of those. And the first one was Aerosmith Guitar Hero, and then they went into
I remember buying it only for the guitar because it was priced down like $20.
Yeah.
Because the game nobody liked the Aerosmith only game, but the guitar was another Guitar Hero guitar. And it was on clearance everywhere, so
That's the
I grabbed
one
it
I still
and literally,
use.
I literally threw the
The
game in
faceplate.
the trash, unopened. to play Rock Band with the Aerosmith Guitar Hero guitar.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Oh, I forgot that there were competing games.
Yeah, there's Guitar Hero. Rock Band split off from that, and then they made Beatles Rock Band. They made
Green
Day Rock Band.
AC/DC.
AC/DC. There were a number of them, and it saturated the market and killed it, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's kind of done. I don't know anybody playing those kinds of games.
Yeah, I mean, Rock Band 4 did try to bring it back last year. Rock Band 4
still,
came out. It's still kicking. They're still making
yeah,
DLC
it's
for
chugging
it.
along.
But it's certainly not the phenomenon
Yeah, it's
that
very
it was.
niche.
Can you plug real guitars into it yet?
You couldn't Rock Band 3.
You could.
Yes. And I remember my then fiance, now
Really?
my
I
wife.
had Rock Band 3. How was that?
Yeah,
Oh, no,
Rock-
I didn't. I had Guitar Hero 3.
So there was a special real guitar made for it. It had to be a specialty guitar that my then fiance, now wife, got for me as a Christmas gift. So it's a real guitar that you can use to play the real songs on Rock Band 3. Of course, Rock Band 4, they took it out. So like Rock Band 4, like I wasn't excited about it because it took away a lot of the cool.
Yeah.
Like Rock Band 3 had keyboards. They don't have that in Rock Band 4.
And then there was Rocksmith or Guitarsmith.
Yeah,
That's
Rock-
the one
Yeah,
that is
that's
like
one
a
that's straight.
teacher.
Yeah, it's
I
just
love that.
teaches you how to play guitar.
It's
in a
really
video game
good.
format.
Yeah, like I got it last year, like, and it was very cheap because it was well after the time. You plug
Yeah.
a real guitar just into the microphone port on whatever it is, and you learn to play songs. It's great. It's really fun.
I love that. See, that's exciting.
And then, while we're on the topic of band tie-ins to video games, there was one that I was thinking about the other day actually, because I haven't played this game in forever and I've never beaten it because I've rented it and need to rent it again. It was a game for the SNES called Spider-Man in Maximum Carnage,
Yes.
where you fought all of Spider-Man and Venom. It was a two-player game. And you fought against all of his other eviler clones, the Carnage clones. So you had Carnage, you had his children like Toxin, Shriek. I forget what the other one's name was, but there were a few of them like canonically in the comics that were like the big bads that he spawned.
Captain America was in that game for some reason.
Yeah, Captain America was like, I forget, was he an assist character or would he just like fight alongside you while you're fighting?
He was like the same as like what Cloak and Dagger were.
Okay, yeah.
And like basically every comic game back then, it was a side-scrolling beat 'em up because they're all side-scrolling beat 'em ups.
Yeah.
LJN.
But I remember all the music was by a very little known punk band called Green Jelly. I don't even know if it's still around.
Yeah, I have
I
no
meant to
idea.
look it up earlier, but so they're called Green Jelly, and they had like their own logo with the TM, and right after Spider-Man's logo. So when you see the big Spider-Man in Maximum Carnage, and it fades away, featuring Green Jelly.
Yeah, who was that? But the music was pretty cool in the
Yeah.
game. Like I remember liking it quite a bit. I've rented it a couple times, but I was like, they put it in the box, Green Jelly. I'm like, what is that?
It's like I've never heard of them, whatever.
So is any big music people still making games or anything?
Oh, big ones. There's a couple. Like I know
Are there any good ones?
Harmonix is still making interesting games, and that's
Okay.
the company that made Guitar Hero originally and made Rock Band. They made DJ Hero, but they are making right now. They're making a game called Dropmix, which is basically a God. What would you call that?
A deck building.
It's a deck building game, but it's about remixing songs. So it's a card game, and you put them down on this 5 card pad, and you'll put in the drums from one song, and the vocal from another song, and the bass line from another song, and it's kind of cool.
Yeah, it mixes everything for you.
They're all real songs.
Yeah.
I dig it.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
you put down, mix everything for you, and you can like record the mixes you make. It'll change things, the keys and the pitches. So it's very like music focused game.
Yeah.
And a lot of the devs at Harmonix are musicians, like especially like all the rock songs from Rock Band and like Guitar Hero. I think it was 2 that were by bands that you had no idea of, or in the bonus section
Yeah, the
were
bonus.
from Harmonix bands like
Yeah.
Freeze Pop and Bang Camaro and a couple other ones I don't remember the name of. But
Yeah,
so those are my favorite songs to play.
Yeah, I love the bonus songs. I never heard these songs. A lot of people like learn music by playing like Guitar
Yeah.
Hero. Like you find new stuff that you didn't know
Yeah.
you liked. You know one that they probably have done it. Coheed and Cambria. Like they're very multimedia.
They should have made a game.
Because they did comics. They did.
Yeah, all the first like 5 or 6 albums are all like one big meta story called the Amory Wars. Peter David was writing. He was writing a video game for them.
Wow.
Or yeah, I think it was a video game or animated series or something. Peter David of comic book fame was working with them, and that made me really excited. And then it dropped off the face of the earth.
You know what would be
That's all
awesome?
that's
We need to Muse. Muse should make a video game based on
sure
their
Muse
music.
hasn't made a game?
I'm not sure they have, but that would be awesome. I just want to play Knights of Sidonia, the video game. That's all I want to do.
I think it's funny, and I think it actually kind of took its natural course. What started as this weird way for bands to like license their stuff, they had to go in and make these terrible side-scroller games. Eventually got to the point where all the games were about celebrating their music, which has to be what they wanted all along, right?
Yeah.
Or do we want a bunch of Tim the Toolman Taylor clones, except with your favorite musicians?
I think
Gwar was in a game. Gwar was in the Beavis and Butthead game.
Oh.
That was the point of the game, was to get tickets to go see Gwar at the end. And at the end, there's the I can't remember his name. Otis Grungus is in the game at the end, like playing, you make it to the show. I can't believe I just remembered.
Richmond's own Gwar. They're from Richmond, Virginia, which is Richmond's claim to musical fame, apparently.
I saw them live, and it was amazing.
It must have been. It looks like a very theatrical show.
Absolutely incredible. Now, anyway, we've come a long way, and you kids are lucky that most of you probably started out gaming during the Guitar Hero era, because we had to wait quite a while for that kind of stuff. But keep playing. Let us know any kind of like songs or games that are based on music or things like that we missed. I know we missed a lot.
There is not a Hall & Oates game. For some reason, I thought there was, but I just looked it up and I didn't find it. There was a Hall & Oates cartoon on Adult Swim. It was about Daryl Hall's mustache.
No!
Would come off of his body, and he shaved off at some point a couple years ago.
Yeah.
So his mustache would run around having adventures. It had his own life separate from Daryl Hall since he had shaved it off. It was on Adult Swim. So I figured they might have made an Adult Swim game based on it. But
dude, that's the hardest non sequitur I've ever heard, I think, by the way.
In the middle of closing a show, there is not a Hall & Oates game.
Well, to elucidate a little bit, Chris was talking about Richmond, Virginia's musical claim to fame. So I was like, Philly has a lot of musicians. Who's one of our claims to fame that might have a video game?
Will Smith, Independence game.
Independence Day
game.
I wonder if his likeness was used in that.
I hope so, because anytime I killed an alien, I wanted to say, "Welcome to Earth." Welcome to Earth.
The different a game that has a spiritual version of Will Smith in it called Dive Kick. It was just like indie fighting game made by a bunch of fighting game like nerds.
2 buttons, no joystick.
Just 2 buttons: dive and kick.
Yeah.
And dive made you jump, but then also dive. It made you jump, and then kick made you dive kick. So it was kind of labeled weird, but yeah. So the main characters were these 2 twin brothers, Dive and Kick. And one of them was like this redhead Irish dude, and one of them was this black dude. And the black dude was from Philly, from West Philly, born and raised. And his stage was the playground from the intro from Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. And then Dive was like his brother from another mother, who he grew up with, but he was from like New York. But they grew up together in Philly, and they had like this rivalry. So that was technically, practically Will Smith's video game debut.
The more you know.
Well, let's hope Will Smith does give us a video game, and I bet there's got to be.
Right, the video game.
There's got to be. I don't feel comfortable speaking about Bright on camera.
Nobody does.
Nobody knows.
Not even
what
the actors
to do
in the
with
movie.
it. Nobody knows what to do with that one.
They've been in the Wild Wild West game.
Wicked Wow.
Oh yeah, Jim West, Desperado.
Rough Rider.
No, you don't want that.
So anyway, ladies and gentlemen, it's been a good long road.
Yeah, and if you were stopping by, I'm Terry from Terry Leahy Films.
I'm Chris from Tubby Robot.
I'm Steve, also from Tubby Robot.
Always happy to talk to you guys. Please come back for more and let us know more about topics that you want to hear us discuss. And always, always, always come in and eat ice cream and talk gaming.
Yep.
We'll see you next time. Peace.